Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode today. Today, we are going to speak about relationships, and I have invited Susan Marmot. Welcome, Susan.
Hello, hi Cecilia, lovely to be here.
Yeah, lovely that you wanted to come because I know this is your favorite subject to share. And Susan, you are a facilitator. Is
Correct,
that
yes.
correct? Difficult word to express, but a facilitator. And you are from London.
That's
And,
correct.
yeah, and started an organization called The Big Simple together with Liliana. And Liliana has been in my YouTube channel in an episode. And you are three in
Yes,
this organization. It's
our
also
third
Louise
partner's
Scott.
Louise. Yeah,
Yeah, Louise Scott. So three people, and you have worked with you work with young people.
yeah. Well, Liliana and I have known each other for a very long time, and since coming across the principles, like Liliana, I've worked a long time in prisons. I worked for an organization called One Thought for a long time, which you might know of.
Yeah.
And we worked there in businesses, but I also ran a program with Leela about relationships. So we used to work, sorry, my printer's doing something weird over there. If I can turn that off.
Oh, I can't hear it.
Okay, good. Yeah, so we used to run programs for people who wanted to date but found relationships difficult. So we ran a program that was based on the principles around that. And yeah, I've mainly done community work. That's where my passion lies, sharing this understanding with people who can't normally or aren't normally able to access it. But yes, relationships is my, as Lily puts it, my favorite subject because, it's something that I was really struggling with for so many years. And it's my relationship life is completely turned around and it's unrecognizable. And there's so much, I completely, although I love my husband and he's adorable, I attribute my happy relationship to the fact that I have this understanding.
Mm.
And because he could be as wonderful as anything, but if I didn't have this understanding, I would definitely screw it up. So yeah.
And relationship it's a huge area because it's all about relationships at work, at home, with your kids, with in everything. A relationship with yourself,
Yeah,
especially yourself.
definitely. Definitely. I mean, I completely agree with you. And that, but for me, that was a different perspective to what I'd understood before. Like I had imagined that in order to have a happy relationship, it was all about who I met and what they were like and how they treated me. And it was all about what was outside of me. And the way I see relationship now is it's a completely internal job. And how much gratitude or love or good feeling I live in, it is up to me. It's actually up to me, and I never ever saw it like that before. It's a completely different way of looking at it, looking at relationship, looking at how it works, looking at when I used to be filled up with a feeling of love, I didn't know that was coming from me. I thought it was coming from something outside, from the other. I didn't realize that was me filling up with love, and that was happening due to an absence of all the other usual thinking I was having. That might sound a bit cryptic to people, but I'm sure it will come clear as we talk a little further.
Yeah, and how I can look back and see how it started. It starts very early in life. I'm so happy to hear you meet young people, because if we can just let them know early in life, it's so much easier to feel like you are guided through life. Because if so many people misunderstand how we work, we go in school and with other people, we learn these mistakes or misunderstandings, and we think that it's because of what other people think, that that's the truth. What other think about me, I have to then it tell me how I supposed to feel.
Yeah, about yourself. Yeah, I know. And you know, I was the same. And when I was young, you know, from very young, I felt, you know, my perception, I'm going to say, was that I wasn't lovable. And I sort of went around with that internal dialogue wherever I went. And I was looking for validation and proof that I was lovable from some things out there. So I quite often went into relationships that were most unsuitable, but I was looking for love. I was looking for that feeling that I would get that would mean that I was lovable, but it didn't really work like that, apparently. So I was always looking for love in the wrong places. And I had no idea that you know, and I actually thought that, you know, I'd read a lot of self-help books, I'd had a lot of therapy, and I thought that I wouldn't be lovable until, I mean, this was my ideas, but I don't think it's that different from other people, until this had happened or that had happened, until I'd somehow fixed all the things that I considered to be wrong with me. Only then I would be lovable. And as anyone who's tried to do that, it's an endless list. So even if you think that you kind of got some things sorted out, then there's more things that you become insecure about, or you think you've got those things fixed because you've had some therapy or you've done a course, and then of course they come back round and you feel as insecure as you ever did, and then you think, my God, there's something so really wrong with me, because look, I'm screwed up. And it proves it, because it doesn't hold when I feel better. I get back, I just end up feeling worse again. So I was always looking for something on the outside to make me feel okay. And I felt insecure an awful lot of the time. And I took that into relationships. And anyway, there's lots to say about that, and we can talk more about that. But I had no idea that the things that I was looking for were already in me. And it was only because of the way I was using my mind, this really unhelpful way, that was stopping me experiencing those things. So once I stopped doing that, once I understood and stopped doing that, I dropped into this okayness that I hadn't experienced before. And I went from feeling so damaged, it was embarrassing. I mean, look, I was functioning. It's not like I wasn't functioning. I had a lot of friends. Yeah, my relationship life was very messy and bad, but I had good friends. But inside, I was always trying to cover up. Whenever I went into a relationship, I was always trying to cover up that I was damaged, hoping that they wouldn't notice or they wouldn't see. And then after about 3 months, or what they call the honeymoon period, I used to start panicking that they'd find out and then they'd leave me. So I'd get really insecure. And insecurity always leads you down a terrible rabbit hole. And the more you kind of worry about it and get scared by it, the deeper it takes you. You think, and then you start saying to your partner things like, we need to talk, and it takes you off in really, really bad directions, which, you know, I didn't know any of that. So I was always getting myself into trouble in relationships, innocently taking me and whoever was my partner into very rocky territory. And that doesn't make sense to me anymore.
No, and it really doesn't matter if it is your boyfriend, or it is on work or in the family. It's the same. You try to please the others, but they are different. They are in different mood. So even if you try, it shifts. It shifts for them too. It shifts for me. It shifts for them. So how can I know how to I need to go like this all the time to try to figure out how they want. How do they want now, so they like me?
Yeah.
Say the right thing so I please them.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to live like that, to always try to figure out how all different people want you to be. And you don't know how to be by yourself, because I didn't know who I was, because I just wanted to do everything for everyone. And then you forget who you are.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. And that trying to please everyone and trying to work out what is it this one wants from me, and then you don't know who you are. And it's so ironic from what I understand now, because, you know, if somebody said to me, what, you know, what's the how to have a successful relationship, you know, the more yourself you are, the better it's going to go. And yet here we are, as you know, when we were young people, trying to twist and turn ourselves to make us into anything other than what we were. And that takes away all our cuteness, all our naturalness, all the things that make us what people love about us. We're trying to hide or cover. And it's like the more we are ourselves, the better it's going to go.
But if we do, because I sometimes do that, it's moments when I feel a little bit insecure, when I feel that my mood is a little down and I have a feeling of insecurity. But I can recognize it now when I know better. So it's not like before, when I felt like I had to always please others, always think about how they want. But I don't think that we never have that feeling, because we do, because it's about our moods going up and down, and that's human.
That's life. It is, and it's a really important point you make, because it's sort of having all the experiences, but without making more meaning out of them. So if I'm not in a great place, not in a great mood, I'm tired, I'm hungry, you know, they're often very basic things. Then in the old days, if I wasn't feeling good, if I was feeling insecure, I thought that had something to do with the relationship. And I wanted my partner to make me feel better. So that's why I would say we need to talk, because I want to hear something from him. because I'm feeling insecure. Is he going to leave me? Is this not going to work out? Does he care about me? All this insecure thinking. And I want to be soothed. And when you have the conversation from that place, it never goes well. And you end up feeling worse, more insecure than when you started. And so now when that happens to me, if I have insecure thinking come over me, leave it alone, it'll pass. It's like, do not bring that into the relationship. Yeah, I might get a bit snappy, but I'll say something like, oh, I'm just a bit off now, or I'm just not in a great mood. He doesn't need to fix it for me. It's not got anything to do with our relationship. Like you say, I'm just having a mood.
But haven't you heard when you say like that, haven't you heard like, no, I want to discuss this now. We need to make this clear before I go to sleep, because I don't want to fight about this. I want to know how to do, because a lot of people think like that. You learn that you must talk about it.
Well, my advice would be don't. And take responsibility. And if you're off and you say, look, there isn't a discussion, because it's actually an internal process. You're in a bit of a mood. You're in your insecure thinking. If you leave it alone, it'll pass. If you start fiddling around with it and trying to sort it out with somebody on the outside who wants to get into it, the more you pick at it, the more you're going to feel it. It's just, we all make that mistake, and maybe people have to learn it themselves, but just let them do it and see how it goes. Does that go well for you? Observe in your own relationship. If you're having all that insecure thinking and you sit down to talk with your partner from that place, how does it go?
I can really say that when I'm very tired, I can start argue, and I feel, and I recognize, oh my God, I'm in a very low mood now. I tell my husband, I see that this is not good. I need to go to sleep. And he gets so irritated on me and said, it's always like that. You always want to go to sleep when we have a discussion. Now you sit down and we discuss this. And no, no, we don't.
Yeah. Well, I think to me, you're doing your relationship a favor. And come the morning, you can't usually remember what you were so annoyed about anyway, because it's past.
No, never. It's always like that. I have no clue what I had in my mind.
Yeah.
But now I know that I need to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Before I thought that he had right, because I heard so many people say that you need to talk, and it's the same at your work. When they have a conflict at work, they need to have a meeting, and they need to talk to each other and figure it out how to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, getting into it in that way, getting into it doesn't help. And people might think, listening to this, that's kind of suppressive, and how do you ever really get things resolved? But there's a different way, and getting into it where one person says all their grievances and the other person says all their grievances is not the way, in my opinion, that things get resolved. I think if two people come together when they're not in these moods and talk about something that matters to them, it will go a lot better. And the trouble is, when you're in the mood or you're in that bit, people don't like feeling like that, so they want to get out of it right there, right then. So they think by getting into it they're going to get out of it, but it doesn't. It takes you further into it. So if you leave it then, and if you can even remember what it is, have a discussion about it the next day, or
so it's not that we are not going to talk about it. If there's something you have to solve, but like you say, not when people are in the low mood.
Yeah.
So that's a difference. That's a big difference.
It is. And it's knowing that I am so grateful for every single day, because it happens every single day. Something bothers me, and I can feel like sometimes I'll get short with my husband, and then I'm like, what am I doing? And, it's just I'm tight because I've got into a bunch of tight thinking. And when I get tight, I get more controlling, more bossy, less reasonable. So it's my thing to deal with. It's like, when that gets loosened again, I'll drop back into that other place where I'm much more loving. And when you're loving and connected and you're coming from that place, when you both haven't got a lot on your mind, it's very compatible. And there's nothing like it. It's really precious. And it who doesn't want to get back to that place once you felt it? Well, who wants to hang out in this just so that you think you're right? It's like, who cares about being right? I used to, big time. And I remember somebody once saying, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I think I'd have answered, I want to be right. But it's got a lot of truth, that saying, because it's not about being right or wrong. But if you're in I'm right, you are already tight in a bunch of thinking.
We were talking earlier today at work about young people using the telephone when they are upset or feeling something. They maybe have sent a photo that they don't want anyone to see to their partner, or and when the partner is in a low mood, they sending it away to someone else. And you must meet that when you are in the organization with the young people, that they send a very fast email or something to someone when they are upset. It goes very fast.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I don't think you have to be young to do it. We've definitely talked about it with the young people, when, just try reading an email when you're not in a good mood, and you read it when your mood changes, and you literally think someone's changed the wording, because when you're not in a good mood, you read into things, you think things mean something else because you're taking everything personally. And then you read the email when you're not in that mood, and it's like, it seems like it's a different email, because we're not making up stories about what we're reading. And certainly when I used to do a lot of work in the prisons, I used to talk to the guys a lot about this. And I used to say, when you're in a lot of thinking and everything's feeling really urgent, because it does when you're in a lot of thinking and you want to get out of it there and then, I say try not to make too much of a mess, because all you have to do is then mop it up after. So if the young people have to mop up what they said, if they got angry or upset, if these guys screamed at a prison officer because they were upset, then they have to go and either apologize or they've been punished and had something taken away. It's like, and the same for me, if I'm in a low mood and I'm upset, just try not to make too much mess. And when it passes, then see what makes sense.
Especially when you put things out in social media like Facebook, and you post a very aggressive text or negative.
Yeah, well, it's really, really difficult for young people in that way. It's the way they all communicate. And, you know, even in the best of times, WhatsApp messages can be read into and misunderstood. And that's the way they're all communicating. And then, of course, I can't even imagine the level of extra insecurity I'd have lived in if they'd had Instagram and all that, Facebook and all, when I was young, because you've got people putting out all these different posts that would certainly have made me feel insecure about myself, my body, my life. It's really tough, I think. And it's not an enhancement, all this. And I'm as addicted as the next person. I mean, it's not that I'm on those things a lot, but I'm just certainly pick up my phone, God knows how many times a day. And first thing in the morning, like, why do I do that to myself? It never feels good. But we, you know, I don't suppose we learn till we learn. But yeah, it's a difficult, really difficult age to grow up in, I think.
And when you are out, I see it with myself. When I'm out on Instagram or Facebook too much, I confirm. No, what do you say? I look at other people. They are so everything works out so well, and I get a bad relationship with myself for a moment. I get very low thoughts about myself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So
it's really tough.
It's tough to see what we do with ourselves and how important it is to come back and put all these outcomes away from you when you feel that your mood is very low.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you know, it's just a matter of really sometimes I don't even remember who came up with this analogy, but it's like it's like being on a plane with turbulence. You just put your seatbelt on. You like, there isn't another job to do. You don't have to go into the cockpit and fly the plane or change direction. It's just bumpy and it will be okay.
Oh, that was a good metaphor.
Yeah, well, it is, because you know, when you're in that, you can have so many different thoughts when you're in turbulence, right? Oh, we're gonna die, we're gonna crash, we're gonna and then, but we don't, and we come through it, and it's the same.
It feels like that. It really feels like that.
Yeah, when we're in it, when we're in that, when we're in our own mind turbulence.
Yeah.
But there isn't actually a job for us to do. That's not another Omar Wilson, somebody who I've worked with a lot. He always says, you know, our feelings are not a call to action. And that's how they feel when we're having them. Like they're a call to action. Like if we're feeling uncomfortable, if we're feeling upset, if we're feeling insecure, we've got to do something. No, they're not a call to action. Our feelings are just showing us how we're using our mind.
And that is the both direction. It's not that we maybe know that we are not supposed to follow the cows or the wrong thoughts, but some people or a lot of people think that we must do something about positive thoughts. We had a work to do with to get those thoughts.
Right. Yes. So you're saying that some people think you have to work hard to get into a positive mindset.
Yeah. So if we are sitting in the plane, we are just sitting.
Yeah.
We not have to go that direction or that direction. We are just sit.
I know no one can quite believe that. I know. And that, you know, our mental health, and by mental health, I mean good mental health is already happening, and the only reason we don't feel it is because we're in a bunch of thinking. So when we're not in a bunch of feeling, we fall back into our mental health until we get into another bunch of thinking, and that's all that's happening all day long, is that. And when you see it like that, that's actually not serious. It feels serious when we're in the thinking, because that's our design. We feel the thinking we're having. So yeah, you don't have to chase the positive feelings. You don't have to chase to be in a relationship that is compatible and beautiful and loving, and that you can have more than you've ever dreamed of because of the way you treat each other, comes when two people come together with not a lot on their mind, and then it happens naturally. Whereas I used to be in relationship the whole time wondering whether we were going to be together tomorrow, whether we had a future, whether he liked me, whether he had so much on my mind. I never touched that place. And now, and also the other thing I see about relationship now is it's the future. I have no business in the future. I have no business in the future. My business is here, right now, with you right now, with whatever I do next, with my husband when he comes home this evening. That's where my business is. It's like, it's not my business tomorrow, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years. If we enjoy each other today, we're gonna do the same tomorrow. It's like, that was the difference when I dated my husband. It was like I stopped jumping into the future. We just had a really, really lovely time, and he said, "Would you like to do this tomorrow?" And I said, "Yeah." And tomorrow, you want to do this tomorrow? Yeah. Like, yeah. And my answer every day right now is yeah.
Because it's a very good direction to walk, and to know if the feeling of worrying of tomorrow, it always comes sometimes over you. We have a lot of worries all the time, but it's a guide to come back. Oh, I'm here now.
Yeah.
We're doing this now.
Yeah.
This talk.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, quietening down like that, like we are now with each other, and how I like to be when I'm with my husband. You know, I don't always do it. So my mind is whirring all the time. You know, it's not like it's always in a peaceful place. Not at all. Not at all. It's crazy. But I know what's happening when it's doing that. It's like, okay, I'm just, that's the way it is right now, but it's not a call to action. It's just, it'll calm. And if it doesn't, tomorrow it will calm. And, you know, it's not a serious problem, and it doesn't have to be fixed. And I don't have to go on a course or go and get some help. Just got a busy mind.
I see it like a trust to that you can go through whatever it is, and sometimes it's very hurtful, but you still can go through it, because life can be hard sometimes. Yeah. And that's how it is. We can't change that, but we can change how we take us through how we feel.
Yeah. And we know, like, if you've got things in your life that are difficult or challenging, you know, perhaps it could be like a sick child, or not worrying about finances, or you know, numerous things. And we know that if we focus on those things, we will be swamped with the feeling of whatever we're focusing on. So worries, if we're worrying, if we're feeling anxious, we'll be swamped with worry. And there could be another moment where, for whatever reason, we forget our worry, like, you know, we're just somewhere else and something else distracts us, and we're still the same person, the same worry is still happening, but we're just not in that moment of the worry. And yeah, I think understanding this has really helped me, because before, in the past, when I had a worry, I almost felt like I was doing something wrong if I ever put it down, if I ever stopped thinking about it. It was doing something wrong. And now I see myself as doing something right if I do that, because actually you become more able to deal with your worry when you're not stirring it around the whole time. You become more effective because your mind gets clear and you get given some help. You get shown something that will be more useful. So I just see that completely differently now as well. So I used to be 99% of every day in thinking of some sort, worry about how I was doing, worry about what might happen, worry about what had happened. And now that doesn't make sense to me anymore, because it stops me getting on and being effective here, right now. It's a different way of dealing with problems, leaving them alone and seeing what you get shown that's helpful.
When I came across the three principles and went to the academic school, they talked. The mentor talked a lot about the weather and how I could compare myself to the weather, and that had helped me a lot, because I do know today it's storm out there, and I know it's not. What can I do with the storm? It's not much. And if it's raining, snowing, I can't do anything about it. It's just it is.
Yeah.
And if I can see myself like I'm a part of the whole nature, I can also understand that it's the same for me.
Yeah. Beautiful. Can I ask you, so since coming across this understanding, did you know your husband before the understanding, or have you just met him recently?
Yes, I was 15 years old when we met each other.
15 years. So yeah.
Yeah. So we have been together the whole time.
So has there been a lot of difference in the feeling of your relationship since you came across this understanding?
Yes, we don't have conflicts like before. We don't argue about things like before. I can see when I feel like I'm in a low mood, or I'm tired, or I take a step back and just tell that this is not right time for me now. And I can see very clearly when his energy is low, or my children's energy. So it's a guiding, it's a help.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So it's not that we never ever argue. Sometimes I'm in a very low mood and I can't help it. But then I know that, oh, and I maybe have to say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's different. But the most of my when I because of I was so dark inside, was because of my relationship to myself. I had very, very low thoughts, dark thoughts, and feeling that I'm not good.
Yeah.
So I could manage to please. It was a difficult work, but I had a lot of. It was easier for me to please others and please myself.
Yeah.
And if I'm in a low mood now, I have most problem with myself.
Yes.
Because I always put it. It's like I have a lot of people up here, and they are arguing with each other all the time. You are this, you are that, blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Okay. I like what you said about your husband, how you can see when he's in a low mood. Because that's the other thing, you know, reminding me about relationship that's been so helpful for me. It's like if in the past, say, you know, if I was trying to talk to a partner and they weren't responding, or they weren't giving me the attention that I felt was the you know, needed for the importance of what I was saying, I would take that so personally, and I would really think that meant something about the quality and the, you know, whether this relationship could work. And now, you know, if I go to talk to my husband and he's not with me, it's like, it doesn't mean anything. He's just distracted. He's in his head, you know. I'll come back when he's not in his head. It's like, it just has such a lightness, something like that, that before had so much depth and meaning to me, you know, that it just does. I don't see it that way anymore. Just like you, it's like they're just a bit distracted. And I know what that feels like. I get in low moods and I get distracted. And that's it. It just doesn't have any more meaning. And yeah, and the children thing, it's like, I didn't know this when my kids were growing up. It's only, you know, they're adults now, but it still has really helped my relationship with them, knowing that they have everything they need and they know what's best for them. It's like it's sort of taken pressure off the responsibility as a parent of feeling like you have to show them, or you have to tell them, or you have to go. It's like, no, they know they've got their own wisdom guiding them, and it's just more about listening and letting them
Have you
hear.
got grandchildren?
Not yet.
Not yet, because I got a grandchild. She's 4 years old, and I can see how it have changed. Yeah, it have changed in the family. I can really see that now. And my daughter has she had also seen how she can make it in another way. So and it's mostly about when you got the low mood, and the when she's angry or she's crying, she knows better how to take care of that, how to stay calm, and how to just be there.
Yeah.
We can never go back and do anything about I came across this understanding when I was 48. So my children is also adults now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can see it on our grandchildren.
Yes.
When it's time for you.
And yeah, I spent so much time in my head when my kids were little. I was very, very unpresent. But anyway, they're fine, and luckily they've grown up to be beautiful. Yeah, but it is it's just a complete blessing knowing this. And there isn't a day that goes by that I don't appreciate that. And that's because I can see like my mood changing, or there's so many holes that I would have fallen down if I didn't know this. Every single day I can see those holes there, but I don't fall down them now. And it's just, I'm grateful for that.
And that's why I invited you to come here and share with me. And that's why I invite people to have this conversation, because we can support and share to other people that it make a difference.
Yeah.
Make a difference in our life to know this, to know that it's about our relationships, to know who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. And it changes our relationship to ourselves, to other people, how we interact with the world, how the world looks. It changes everything on every level.
Thank you so much, Susan.
A
lovely conversation.
It's such a pleasure, and it's lovely to get to know you a bit and to talk to you today. Really been a pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, thank you for being here.